Here's a shocking reality. America's farmers are being systematically left out of the digital revolution, and it's happening right under our noses through something as simple as a mapping error. Representative Erin Houchin from Indiana's 9th District has stepped forward with what might be the most straightforward solution Washington has seen in years. But here's where it gets controversial. Some critics argue this is just another government band-aid when we need comprehensive rural infrastructure reform. The newly unveiled Data Broadband Reporting and Integration for Deployment in Geographically Essential Areas Act. Yes, that spells out Data Bridge. Someone in D.C. clearly loves their acronyms. Represents a bipartisan effort to fix a fundamental flaw in how America distributes billions in broadband funding. So what's the core problem? The Federal Communications Commission's current National Broadband Map operates like a real estate agent who only cares about houses. It meticulously tracks homes and businesses, but essentially ignores the vast agricultural lands surrounding them. Think about it. When was the last time you saw a cornfield getting its own internet service plan? This oversight isn't just bureaucratic negligence. It's economically devastating. Modern farming has evolved far beyond planting seeds and hoping for rain. Today's agricultural operations depend heavily on precision agriculture technologies that require robust, high-speed internet connectivity across entire properties. We're talking about GPS-guided tractors, real-time soil moisture sensors, automated irrigation systems, and sophisticated planting equipment that communicates constantly with satellites and cloud-based databases. But here's the part most people miss. When federal agencies distribute broadband funding based on incomplete maps, they're essentially telling farmers that their fields don't matter. Only their farmhouses do. This creates a digital divide that stops at the front porch, while leaving hundreds of acres of productive land in the connectivity dark ages. Congresswoman Houchin, who has been championing rural broadband expansion throughout her tenure, describes the legislation as a common-sense, low-cost solution that ensures federal broadband investments actually reach the areas where work happens. She emphasizes that Indiana's agricultural-rich 9th District exemplifies the broader challenge facing farming communities nationwide, where reliable internet access has become as essential as fertile soil and favorable weather. The beauty of this proposed fix lies in its elegant simplicity. Rather than creating new bureaucratic layers or demanding additional taxpayer funding, the Data Bridge Act leverages existing resources. The United States Department of Agriculture already maintains comprehensive databases tracking cultivated land across the country. The legislation simply requires the FCC to incorporate this readily available agricultural data into their mapping system. Support for the initiative has emerged from an impressive bipartisan coalition, though their reasoning reveals some interesting political tensions. Representative G.T. Thompson, who chairs the House Agriculture Committee, frames the issue in terms of global competitiveness, stating that American agriculture has become the envy of the world because we have embraced science, technology, and an appetite for innovation. Meanwhile, Representative Zach Nunn from Iowa delivers perhaps the most pointed criticism of the current system. If a D.C. bureaucrat misses a field on the broadband map, Iowa farmers pay the price. His comment highlights a growing frustration with federal agencies making funding decisions without fully understanding rural realities. And this is where the controversy really heats up. Is this targeted fix enough, or does it represent incremental tinkering with a fundamentally broken system? Representative Robin Kelly from Illinois brings a different perspective, noting that her district alone contains 4,500 farms, with the vast majority being family-owned operations. She argues that everyone deserves to have broadband access, no matter where they live, positioning internet connectivity as a basic right rather than a luxury. The economic implications extend far beyond individual farms. Representative Eric Sorensen, also from Illinois, emphasizes that access to fast and reliable internet isn't a luxury. It's a necessity for Americans across the country to stay competitive in our fast-moving world. This framing suggests that rural broadband gaps don't just hurt farmers, they undermine America's overall economic competitiveness. Representative Adrian Smith from Nebraska, serving as chairman of the recently established Modern Agriculture Caucus, provides additional institutional backing for the legislation. His support demonstrates how agricultural interests are organizing politically to address digital infrastructure challenges. From Florida, Representative Darren Soto highlights how federal investments from the American Rescue Plan and infrastructure law have already begun expanding broadband access in his district, including underserved areas like East Orange and South Osceola counties. His comments suggest that targeted mapping improvements could significantly enhance the effectiveness of existing funding streams. California's Representative Jim Costa delivers one of the most compelling arguments. Too many farms and rural areas are left off the map, and that means they're left out of critical broadband funding. This observation cuts to the heart of the issue. Invisibility in data leads directly to exclusion from resources. Industry support provides additional validation for the legislative approach. CostQuest, a company specializing in broadband data analysis, emphasizes that reliable point-level broadband data is essential for economic development in rural areas and farmlands. Their backing suggests that improving mapping accuracy could yield broader economic benefits beyond agriculture. The Association of Equipment Manufacturers has also endorsed the legislation through Senior Vice President Kip Eidberg, who points out that America's farmers face a significant broadband access gap, particularly for speeds needed for precision agriculture and modern operations. This industrial perspective reinforces how digital infrastructure gaps ripple through entire supply chains. But here's what makes this legislation particularly intriguing. It builds upon the previous Bipartisan Broadband Data Act, which enhanced general mapping standards but failed to address agricultural coverage specifically. This suggests that even well-intentioned policy efforts can miss critical constituencies if they don't account for the unique characteristics of different economic sectors. The proposed solution promises to deliver substantial benefits without requiring new appropriations, additional mandates, or expanded bureaucracy. In an era when government efficiency remains a contentious political issue, this approach might appeal to fiscal conservatives while simultaneously advancing progressive goals around digital equity and rural development. However, skeptics might argue that focusing solely on mapping improvements treats symptoms rather than causes. Are we simply making it easier to distribute inadequate funding more precisely? Or does this represent a meaningful step toward comprehensive rural broadband infrastructure? The broader context reveals how America's agricultural sector increasingly resembles other high-tech industries, requiring sophisticated digital capabilities to remain competitive globally. Farmers today must manage complex data streams, optimize resource utilization through algorithmic analysis, and respond to real-time market information, all activities that demand robust internet connectivity across their entire operations. What do you think? Is this targeted mapping fix a brilliant example of pragmatic governance that solves real problems without bureaucratic bloat? Or does it represent another example of politicians offering technical solutions to systemic infrastructure challenges that require much larger investments and more fundamental policy changes? Should we be celebrating bipartisan cooperation on incremental improvements, or demanding more ambitious approaches to rural digital equity?